And welcome back to another episode of Let Me Finish, brought to you by Flash from DC. Thanks, Flash, for sponsoring this video. Give
That's a
everybody
much
ultimate
better
Usain
intro.
Bolt speed. Hey, can you let me finish the intro?
No.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about the infamous 76ers. More specifically, do you trade Embiid or Simmons? Alex, what say you?
So just so for some overview, Simmons and Embiid on the floor together, just the first year they were together, per 100 possessions were plus 15.7 points. That's really, really good 3 years ago. The next year, 2 years ago, they were only plus 8 points together per 100 possessions on the floor. And this year they've been 0.12. So they have gotten considerably worse on the floor together these last 3 years. Part of that is Ben Simmons' refusal to shoot anything outside of, a layup. And his lack of development in that area. But if you can only keep one, and I do think that it is time for them to trade one of these guys, I keep Simmons. He's far less injury prone than Embiid is. Y'all gotta remember, Embiid got drafted like 6 years ago, but we've only seen him play for for 3 years now. Like he took quite a while from actually getting drafted to actually playing. And while Ben Simmons did miss all of his rookie year, up until this back injury, hasn't really been hurt. And there is already a model in the NBA for how to build a team around Ben Simmons. One of them is in the East. It's Milwaukee. And he's a better passer than Giannis is. I actually think he's a better passer, and he's probably got better ball handling skills. Giannis is obviously a freak defensively and athletically and around the rim and all of that. But if you put Ben Simmons up, if you put Ben Simmons up with 4 shooters around him, spread the floor, let him be the initiator, he'll be fantastic.
Yep.
And I don't know that there is I guess you could say maybe Anthony Davis and LeBron in LA can be a blueprint, but there's not a whole lot of back to the basket bigs anymore. I don't know how you build around that necessarily in the same. You can. Embiid's been dominant. We just saw it last year when he was like 28 and 14. Like, he can be dominant. He is a great player. He has tremendous upside. And maybe the fact that nobody else has back to the basket is an advantage. But given the injury concerns, and given that Embiid's weakness, at least to me, seems to be whether or not he cares. Like, he seems to feed off of the fans and all that too much for my liking, that if it's not there, he doesn't necessarily show up. I'll take Simmons. I'll trade Embiid. I'll put shooters around Simmons and go from there.
And we're back. Technical difficulties, wardrobe malfunction. Alex now has white dangly things hanging out of his ears. So the second blueprint that I was talking about, Alex obviously was only thinking about the Bucks. I was thinking about the Rockets with Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell is obviously a better shooter, though not good. He's a better shooter than Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons is a big guard. He is a powerful guard. He has vision. He slashes very well, and I think that that's another really good blueprint. Almost just like in Milwaukee, the Rockets put shooters around Russell Westbrook and then parted the Red Sea for him to be able to drive. So that's the upside for Simmons. With Embiid, for me, here's my thing. Embiid reminds me of that guy that works at McDonald's as a second job just for fun because he's a weirdo. And he knows he doesn't need you. He's really good at his job, but you never know when he's going to show up. He might call in today, tomorrow, he'll maybe show up on Wednesday, but maybe he'll leave early, and you're not going to fire him, or your manager doesn't want to fire him because he's good at his job. Yeah. Right. When he's on his game, he's on his game. And so whether it be because Embiid doesn't feel like trying, or because his knees blew out for no reason, or because he caught the flu twice in the same week, like, he's just too inconsistent to really justify keeping him on a team.
No, they clearly don't work together. I think they need to fire the coach as well. And so if you wanted to give it one more year, maybe. Do you have any like fake trade scenarios that you would do with one or the other?
Okay, so what do you think? I'm going to think on it real quick.
So if we're trading Embiid, and we're talking about a back-to-the-basket post, and a team that loves or would love to play that style, I don't know that this team has the assets. In fact, I shouldn't say I don't know. They don't have the assets unless they get super lucky with this ping pong. But to give Philadelphia what they would want, which is young, wingish guards that can shoot, Spurs. Like I said, they don't really have great assets in terms of giving up something for Embiid, but they would love to have a back-to-the-basket big. Obviously, that is Pop had Duncan, and you would think that if he went to San Antonio, honestly, just like lack of professionalism to a certain extent, maturity with Embiid would just kind of cease to exist there. But anyone else that you can never count out Pat Riley for stuff like that, reuniting. True. Him and Butler already kind of whatever. The thing you also got to realize trading either one of these guys is that they are on a max deal. And so in the NBA where you got to match salaries, that can get tricky. I had a fake trade that I really wanted to happen. Well, I don't know if I really wanted it to happen. I'm a LeBron guy, and this would have made the Warriors great. But something that I do not understand from either team's perspective, why they didn't at least discuss this, or at least maybe they did and we just didn't hear about it. This is Simmons for D'Angelo Russell. Like, to the Warriors, when he was still on the Warriors. Mm-hmm. Like, that to me made just like way too much sense from both teams' perspective. Like, Simmons is a way, way, way better Draymond. Like, he can do everything that Draymond does, minus probably kicking people in the balls and saying that he's better than Charles Barkley. And he can do it better. He's actually a threat to score offensively without having Steph Curry take away his defender. Like, he can drive, he can score a bit on his own, but he's a great distributor. He's worked great with Steph and Clay. Like, that would be scary to have that trio on the team together. And so I didn't really understand why the Warriors felt the need to trade Russell at the break, or this season really, at the trade deadline. I thought they could have waited until the summer and then seen what happens with Philadelphia. But who was yours?
Okay, hear me out, because this is going to be a little out there, but speaking from both sides, because this team is a little bit desperate. If you traded away Embiid and got Devin Booker, and one other piece from the Suns that's wingish guard that could kind of play around Ben Simmons, that would be a very interesting trade, because the Sixers still have Al Horford, so he can kind of act big, and then you would also add Devin Booker.
Horford,
yeah. I mean, he's not
defender, and he can actually stretch the floor, and he can stretch the floor.
Right. So then you add two wings around Ben Simmons, one being Devin Booker, who, I mean, he kind of made it to the
own shot.
Yeah, Devin Booker is good, and everybody kind of.
He's a very good player.
they sleep on the Suns because they don't do well. And so
Well, the Suns started the year off pretty well until DeAndre Ayton. Well, yeah, DeAndre Ayton got busted for cheating for PEDs, and then he had to miss like 30 or something like that.
Right.
And DeAndre Ayton is probably the reason that trade doesn't get done. I mean, not that DeAndre Ayton should stay in the way, but I think the Suns probably view Booker and Ayton as their cornerstones. Do remember, like, Ayton was the number 1 overall draft pick that year, and has been good since he's gotten to the league. But that is an interesting one.
That's the one I thought of. But
that's interesting.
Yeah. So as far as this year goes, if they stay healthy for the playoffs, how far do you think they can go?
Yeah, so this hiatus might actually be really good for them. If the NBA comes back, like, they might be fully healthy going into the playoffs. And I mean, in theory, if they got everything together and all of the pieces, fell into place, so to speak, like, they could go win it. They could go compete for a championship. In theory, in reality, like, they're horrible away from home. They're not going to have home court advantage in any series they play. Now, they're a bad matchup for the Celtics because the Celtics have struggled with size. And since they've lost Al Horford, who was actually very good at guarding Embiid in the Celtics 76ers series, you got to think, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the Sixers are the 60s.
Yep.
So, that would be the 3-6 matchup. And so you would think, they can upset Boston, and then theoretically they'd play Toronto in the second round. We'll see what Toronto looks like in the playoffs without their superstar in Kawhi. But I would think that they would, if nothing else, I would think that the road woes for Philadelphia are probably going to continue, and that Toronto will take care of home court. And so I realistically, like, I think they could upset whoever they play in the first round because they are that talented.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably take a dive in the second.
Yeah. Well, sweet. So that was another episode of Let Me Finish. Again, brought to you by Flash. Make sure you go to Spencer's in a mall near you and grab a Flash shirt or maybe a hat. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit a like. If you disliked it, I mean,
somehow you found the worst outro than the coronavirus. I don't know how you did it.
Anyway, I'm finishing this outro. So if you want to see more content from us, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you know every time the Flash jumps to another dimension, and we will catch y'all in the next one.